Now you can only hear me. Okay. Good evening, everybody, and good mayit. I spoke to quite a few people today about their Pesach, and I will say that these are the people who are listening to this Shiur live or taped or in general studying Bitachon. Many of those individuals I spoke to, if not all, expressed how meaningful and how deep their Pesach was, despite really being in unideal circumstances. So it's really important to be speaking about Bitachon. And therefore, we're going to continue tonight in talking about the end of Pesach, Shevii Shel Pesach, which is the day the Jewish people, we know we left Egypt on the first day of Pesach, and we crossed the Red Sea, the Yam Suf, what they call today the Red Sea, on the seventh day of Pesach. I will be discussing that tonight. I spent some time last night and today brainstorming. I have this article in my mind I don't like to write these kind of articles. I have to write. I like to write history. Like if I'm going to talk, I can talk about many topics personally. But when I write, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and the articles that I've written for periodicals, which are, more general, argumentative articles. Some of the articles really took me a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. I found myself this afternoon putting a lot of time into an article, which is far from done. But I feel compelled really to write such an article. For hopefully, Be'ezus Hashem, for a secular audience and some kind of periodical or newspaper. What do I want to write about? I really want to write about what's not being spoken about, what's not being talked about. And that is, that there's a God in the picture. Every article that you read today or newscast really is revolving around the science of COVID or the politics. Of course, there are many people who like to pull down Trump for many reasons, and they'll like to pull down Trump for this reason or whatever they think of Trump is. Maybe they legitimately don't like Trump, whatever it may be. There's a lot of politics and angles about that as well. But it's mind-boggling, and it's mind-boggling too, because if there's any article about religion, it's about like how religion is going onto social media or onto Zoom, or of course some snide comments about where is God in this. There's considering the vast majority of this country are believers in God, there's no introspection. There's no talk about what does God want from us. And to me, it's so ridiculously puzzling. I don't know if I'm going to use this quote, but I'm tempted to start my article with the following quote by C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, of course, was one of the two great mid-20th century Oxford professors who were novelists, one being J.R. Tolkien, and the other was C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis actually, although he was a practicing Christian, has an Orthodox son. How does he have an Orthodox son? Because his wife, Joy Davidman, was Jewish, albeit she grew up communist, a real left-wing communist Jew, and converted to Christianity. Her halachically Jewish son ended up becoming a Baal Tshuva and is today Orthodox. C.S. Lewis wrote the following thing many years ago. Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks to us in our consciousness, but shouts in our pains. It is the megaphone to rouse a deaf world. God whispers to us in our pleasures. We don't really hear God when things are going on. We don't think about God, but really there's a megaphone in pain. And really, we would imagine there'd be more of existential questioning of what life is really about. Should I be changing? What is the meaning of this? We don't have prophets today. We don't have Nevi'im today. And we're not fortunate to see how this cataclysmic event, what we're supposed to be. One thing is clear, though, is we're supposed to be improving ourselves. So that message is not getting to this world. Everything is about social distancing, which we should be doing. Everything is about when is these quarantines or shelter in place going to be uplifted. And I'm writing this article for people who will not go on. If I write this article, please God, if it will not go on a Jewish website or a religious website, to make them think maybe there's a message, a spiritual message. But as I was writing this article, I was thinking to myself, like, what about us? Like, and it really dawned on me that like a few months ago, we had some really terrible anti-Semitic attacks on synagogues, and both the first anti-Semitic synagogue was in Pittsburgh, and there was in Muncie, there was in San Diego, Paua. I mean, and what hit me when I was really thinking about, God giving us a megaphone is almost all of the reactions, including this Shel, was primarily increased security, was primarily not what does God want that synagogues are being attacked. It was like, what security measurements should we take? And almost everything I saw out there was it. And yet now again, it's the synagogues are closed for a completely different reason. And most people are thinking to ourselves, okay, we have the shelter in place and we'll get through this. And when we can come back, unfortunately, I told this to someone weeks ago, I'm positive that I will not see, that certain people will not be here for months. Why? Because some people legitimately will have concerns about coming back to synagogue when it opens because they have a particular health situation. Other people, they'll wake up Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, they won't come back right away. I'm not talking about when there's a danger, just because by nature they'll be all careful about the physical safety. But it hit me like, what about our spiritual safety? And the synagogues in general, like us Orthodox Jews who are God conscious and think about it. And of course, I did speak after some of these attacks about this Shel, but I think now how the reaction of almost everyone on the board, or a normal reaction, but almost everyone who was concerned after these synagogue attacks, it was really not what should I be doing in Shel religiously. It really was not that. It was like, what physical security could I put into Shel? And there's people mamish emailing me, draining me a cup, and they're probably right to be very concerned about physical security. So I thought to myself, like, as I'm writing this article for the world, God's megaphone, right? When things are going wrong, like, what about us? And it's astounding to me, and it comes really from a good place. It's like a few people told me, they're waiting for Mashiach on Pesach, and I'm waiting for Mashiach too. But it's almost like Mashiach is like, it's not that they want Mashiach to be close to Hashem. It's a Mashiach that takes us out of all the pain. And there's not a feeling that, of course Hashem wants us to be happy, and of course Hashem wants us to be, but it's also, we're supposed to change ourselves. It's not like, if we're not ready for Mashiach, then I'm not sure if we want Mashiach if we're not ready for Mashiach at that term. I'm not saying we don't. There's not a feeling, and this is as I was writing, maybe as I was writing this or trying to write this article, it's still percolating in my mind for the world. I mean, for ourselves, when we have Bitachon, how much of the people on this call, honestly, and the people who will be listening to this tonight or tomorrow or in the future, how much have we changed our lives? Have significant change of our life, and not just emunah and bitachon, because we need emunah and bitachon, and of course emunah and bitachon are the ingredients of change, because we understand that if we're in the situation, Hashem is giving a call to the world. I learned Tanakh with one of my children. I mean, there were events in time of Tanakh. There were years of difficulty for the Jewish people until they transformed themselves. Large parts of the Shoftim and the Menachem were really challenging periods of time. You don't have to go that far back in Jewish history to see events that went on for years, and we didn't lose our faith. So, Emunah doesn't mean a quick fix. Mashiach comes. I believe it's okay. Next week it's all better. Mashiach Shevii by Pesach. Halavai Mashiach Shevii. The world needs Mashiach. The world needs it, but what we really need to be looking at ourselves is if we're in this situation, whether it's one more day, Bez Hashem, or longer, is are we really hearing this message? Are we really, when we say Bitachon Emunah, are we really changing our lives? Look how radically we've changed our lives physically. People are not working. People are having all kinds of health precautions. There were so many people who changed their Seder because they had to physically. And many of us adjusted spiritually as well. But are we making a real transformation? And I asked myself this as I was writing this article for the world, fix yourself and then you can fix the world. So I just want to, reiterate to you all, you righteous Jews listening to this tonight and like days ahead. It's really, I'm going to quote the C.S. Lewis quote because it does speak to me. Pain insists upon being attended to. Hashem whispers to us in our pleasure. Really, we should, in our day and day life, be transforming ourselves. Speaks in our consciousness, but shouts in our pains. If we're in a challenging times, it is a megaphone to a deaf world. And the megaphone is more than we've changed our lives in a shelter-in-place physically. More than that, we need to transform ourselves spiritually. The only way to transform ourselves spiritually is with Bitachon, but it's not enough. It's not enough. It's really not enough. I honestly regret a few months ago when they had these terrible anti-Semitic attacks, not making more of a deal for all the people who bothered me. And I think I actually said this in my drasha. So many people are worried about the physical safety. We should be spiritual, but I should have pushed it more then, because it really hits me now. Like when everyone was concerned about the synagogue then was physical safety. It's like everyone's reaction was thinking of the Klansman or the neo-Nazi or the Muslim terrorist. But like no one's thinking, oh, why is Hashem doing this to us? Maybe we should be changing ourselves. And if we weren't thinking about it then, we need to be thinking about it now, right? We're now out of the show. In fact, we don't even have security. I'm the only one coming to the show. I can tell you, I davened here on Shabbos and Yom Tov. There was no security outside, okay? It's not a question about physical security. It's a question, are we making the changes we need? And honestly, as we're on Pesach, I would just say we really need to be looking deeply in ourselves, not just that we're working on Bitachon, or we're like somebody told me, I'm getting through this. Getting through this? You're coping? Of course, that's baseline. We need to cope. But are we transforming ourselves? Are we realizing that Emunah Bitachon it's a megaphone to us? It's very easy. We always like to say, let's wake up all the atheists and the agnostics. No, the primary recipients of God's message are those who will hear the message. The primary recipients is us. So albeit I feel compelled, I told my wife, I'm not the right person for this, but I cannot live in a world where nobody or not nearly enough people are saying this message. So I will try my best to write some kind of article if I can. But the message is for me, for Menachem, Levine, and the message for all you listeners, live and not live, is we need to really change our lives. We need to permanently transform our lives. We need not just and think every time you're doing something physically to do it spiritually as well. And really, we come in as we're advancing in Pesach. That's really the levels of the Emunah is what the seventh day of Pesach brings. In Nesivos Shalom, just to continue, says the following thing: Vayar Yisrael Sayad HaGedol Asher Asa Hashem b'Mitzrayim, V'yiru Ha'am Hashem, V'yaminu Ba Hashem V'Moshe Avdom. Say it every day in Tefillah, every day in davening. Right? By Oz Yasher, we got to the Red Sea. I'm going to say Red Sea just because it's easier for people. Right? That the Jewish people were saved at that moment when they were surrounded by the sea on one side and the Egyptians on the other side. And at that moment, the Torah tells us that the Jewish people saw that the Yad, the obviously anthropomorphic, the hand of God who had saved them, and they feared God and they believed in God and in Moshe, God's physical human servant. Yeshlahaven haloshin v'yaminu. What when they saw and they believed? What did they see? Did they not see God? 10 plagues? Did they not see God? And just ask yourself this now: are we seeing God with this COVID plague? Right? Did they not see Hashem? He had 10 plagues. The water was all blood, but for themselves. right? The Egyptians had water, blood. There are frogs here, frogs there, frogs everywhere. There are lice, there are wild animals. The whole world, the country goes into darkness. Pitch dark, people can't walk. They don't see God then. I mean, now they see God. Now they see God, they fear God. The Hanu Sheminu Ashekvaru Benes Agila and Iskav Shakriya Samsov Hare Lahamin Shetzak Sheinoim. Well, Achashor Beineim Koniskama Makom Yishkan Oyev Yaminu Ba'Hashem Moshe Avdo. And he says further that Sisha said, "What do you mean? They saw it, right? It's why call it belief at that moment? What do you believe? If I do we say belief? It's some Catholicism. Thomas Aquinas, who was a contemporary of Maimonides, they call it great leap of faith. It's all leap, but there's no real faith. I mean, there's nothing empirical about it. The Rambam is contemporary. In Judaism, faith is based on knowledge, right? Judaism says there's knowledge is the beginning of all faith. There is some. You can deny knowledge. But when you see it, when it's right in front of you, if you see a wall in front of you, it's a wall, right? If you see gravity, you can say there's a level of faith because you can see the effects of gravity. But where's the faith there? They were at the Yam Suf and they saw it. And then they believed. Oitzarch bir harimatzino. We found the Torah Shekvarimino Oibeis. As I mentioned, they already believed in Mitzrayim. It says V'yam and Ha'am. And we know, as the Talmud, it's a Medrash says, it was B'schus Emunah that those who left Egypt, they left Egypt in the merits of their Emunah. What did they add on here? As I just mentioned before, after seeing Choshech and Makas B'charos, what was the addition that happened at Yam Suf that they didn't have in Egypt proper? As Nesivos Shalom, as he's expounded and elucidated in other places, there are levels of faith. There are levels of emunah. There's a level of emunah in a person's mayach and a person's cup in their head. Above is out in our heart. It's not cerebral. It's built on the cerebral emunah, but an emunah in our, as he's saying in our kishkes, in our heart, that we know it, we live it. Kamoshech Kasav, I said Olam is one of the son of rabbis, B'Shem Tzaddik, Rabbi Lev Miduker, who was a Talmud of Magim message from the student of the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Chassidus, Kim Hamunas Hamoyach, from the level of faith, from the intellect, cerebral, to the heart, is a greater distance than Shemayim V'Aretz, in heavens to earth. I mean, the chasm is so great, so it's so huge. That's how much of a difference is to know something here, than to feel it here, to truly live it over here. Just on a simple level, the masses of Gentiles and secular Jews who quote unquote believe in God, you don't see it anywhere right now. And I believe they believe in God. When you speak to them, you believe, oh, yes, I believe in God. I'm not agnostic. People believe in God. Does that have any effect on them? No, it doesn't. You know why? Because the belief is somewhere a little bit over here usually, and nothing over here. It doesn't really impact their lives. It's just like, okay, there's a God in the world. There's no impact. There's no impact. Now, obviously, if you're a Torah Jew, we have a lot more here and a lot more here. But it's shaykh, it's possible to be a believer and have it here and nothing over here. And it says that in Nesivos Shalom, it's even aggressive madrega. There's on a higher level of emunah, more than from here, the mayach to the late. And that is emunah ha'evarim, that literally it's in the bones of you itself, which obviously it's just a figurative term of emunah. She'emunas Hashem chadura b'chol evarav, as we say, that all of my bones, as David amounts in Psalms and so on, all of me, everything I say, who is as great as you, this God? Literally, a person's consumed with this belief. That even our bones feel there is there's the only thing in the world that's true, and really the only cause, the only cause of everything is Hashem. And you say, even a person who's a tzaddik, a righteous person, they believe in God, they clearly believe in God, and they have Yiras Shamayim, they fear God. So if they see a danger, or a person, I never forget. I was once involved with somebody who was a very pious Jew, and the person definitely believed God, and they felt threatened by somebody. You would have imagined like they didn't believe in God, like just like the way they were talking. They just push it. They were like, why did they react in some way? Because even though they had a belief here, and certainly had a belief here, it wasn't Be'evarim. And when they were threatened and when they were scared, they lost track of seeing God. They like, it's almost like this person could hurt them, or this individual is out to get them, and there's no God in the picture, which means God can't stop this person, and therefore they were petrified, or there's some kind of danger that's there. Now, again, I just want to, what we all know, but I just want to make sure to state this. Our obligations in this world are to do everything that's just possible to be successful. So if we're in COVID, we need to do social distancing. Every time I see a report of somebody who looks religious, who doesn't, and thinks they're praying, I think what shaitas, which fools they are. Besides, Hashem, it's like jumping off a bridge and expecting God to help you. If I see a guy smoke, I think the same thing. Well, you're killing yourself. Don't ask God for help. You take a knife and you cut your wrist and then say, God help me. It doesn't go that way. So we're obligated to do what we need to do for our health physically. If we have people who are our enemies, so we need to do due diligence. If you're in the state of Israel, you need an army and you got to take on Hezbollah, you need to have intelligence. But the mistake is that after all that's said and done, it's all Hashem. It means our obligation in this world is to do what we call hashtalis, but it's all Hashem. It means every success that we have and every level is all up to God. And if and whether we'll be successful or not will be determined whether Hashem and only Hashem will decide. So how is it possible that, though, just going back, that a person could have emunah, even believe, and then something bad happens, or they're in a tragedy, or they're threatened, as I mentioned, this person I was dealing with, we think they didn't believe in God at all, that this person's going to kill them, and no one can stop it, is because the muhuna, it's her nivel moed, shemuna in a chadur be'avarav, which means because they don't have emunah be'avarav, they have still a lower emunah. A person has emunah be'avarav. They're not fearful of anyone and anything. All they're concerned is Hashem. And I've met in my life such individuals that literally that they will do everything they have to be successful in this world. That's their obligation. But they had such emunah, such faith be'avarav. They weren't scared of any human being, and not because they didn't realize that in theory these people or these situations are challenging. It's because they were so connected to Hashem. I mean, that doesn't mean you can cut yourself or go daven in a minute with 500 people and think that you don't have to worry about COVID. Doesn't mean that you could, antagonize somebody. It means that if you do your due diligence, you have nothing to worry about in this world, because Hashem will decide the rest. But for us, who need to strive for this emunah, the Jewish people who had lived in Mitzrayim, had been in Mitzrayim, the Yam and Ha'am, when we said that Jewish people left Egypt because of Yam and Ha'am, what did they achieve at that point? They had emunas hamayach. They cerebrally now knew. They knew it in their head that literally everything in this world comes from Hashem. They had this idea that nothing, there's zero. They knew intellectually, cerebrally, that everything in this world and everything in their own personal lives. There's some people who are good at knowing in the world, but in their own lives they forget Hashem involves their lives. They had to take some into consideration. They knew exactly that they had Emunah 101, Hashgacha Pratis 101, Divine Providence 101. They had it clear intellectually. When Moshe in the beginning of Shmos, the beginning of Exodus, Hashem says, they won't believe me. They won't believe me. No, they're believers, the children of believers. There's a level of faith in the core of a Jew that comes from Avram Mitzvah Yaakov Saraf Garachal. Now, you'll meet Jews that are so far off. They don't seem to have any belief, but no, in the core there is there's certainly belief. It happens to be, it's an interesting thing, that my own my own experience is that Jews who are very secular are the most threatened by by God and belief. They literally, they almost run away from it because in their depth they know. I think I said this to us, repeated very briefly. When I was in law school, I had a Jewish club specifically to teach Judaism, not just to have a Jewish social club, but a club. It became the largest club in the law school university, and it was there it's called the Jewish Heritage Club, to allow Jews to experience authentic Judaism, to have whether it was lunch and learns or some holiday stuff. And I would beginning of the school year, since we became an approved club in the law school, long story how that happened. I had a table, and I manned the table to sign people up, get their emails, sign them up. And I actually liked it. I was as a decent salesman, and I would stop people, and I would try to get people to sign up. There'd be many Jews who would come up right away, whatever level of observance they were, they would sign up right away. Jewish church, why not? Worst comes to worst, I'll get an email I don't like. The Gentiles who are not interested, they would look, the African American, Chinese, American, white American, whatever, Latino, whatever it be, they look at the sign, just walk by. I knew that if somebody looked at the sign, Jewish Heritage Club, and ran, only the Jew would do that. It means they would see the sign and run for their lives. Like they were like, whoa! Like they run. So I stop them. I'd say, stop. Like, you're Jewish. And they always, 100%, I was always accurate. Anyone who got nervous and ran away was a Jew. Always, 100%. And I got many of them to sign up. I have some interesting stories, not for now, of people who refused to. But there was a feeling, and even if you're in a shul, by the way, when you hear Musar, and you don't want to hear it, and it's not talking to you, it's talking to a third person. No one likes to be criticized. But when it's a concept is right, there's a feeling, a Jew knows, in the depth of a Jew is emunah. And that's why, unfortunately, our secular brothers and sisters who need to be reached out to, who appear that they're almost ideological, many of them, anti-God, because they're scared of God. In their heart, they know God. Now, again, we're not talking, that's not our lecture tonight, but in the soul of every Jew is emunah. And certainly for us, when we're talking to in this class, when this is not an outreach class, this is speaking to Maiminim, who are Maiminim currently, is that we need to know that it lives in every Jew's emunah. Moshe says, so neshama b'hachai shel haTorah v'Torah mitzvahs, and the emunah in a Jew comes from the neshama, and the other chai of Torahs it's in ourselves. It means in our, and every Jew is in their spiritual DNA is to connect to our soul, connect to our neshama, and to keep Torah mitzvahs. And he says, as Lakovitz says, in Yehudi in a margish esamuna alav lahamin shumaimin. I mean, let's say you don't feel it. I'm talking again a Torah Jew, because there's someone who's not. They also have this, as I mentioned, but they need a little bit of a different approach. But if you're what you call a religious Jew, or a Jew who believes in God, you have to know that really you do believe. Sometimes people come to me, I'm not sure, blah blah blah. They always believe it. But what we have to know is Elisha Avim Machasin Etzla. Somebody just have shots. If you listen to some lady singers who prance around on stages naked, or eat non-kosher food, or even questionably kosher food, or you're not careful about your mitzvahs. So of course it affects your soul. I mean, it covers up your amunah. We have to know that really in the neshama of a yid is amunah itself. And he brings down that someone once came to the Chasidish Rebbes, and this person was known as a Rasha Merusha Koifer Megadif. And he got in trouble. And he was told to kiss the cross and he'll be saved. And this Jew refused to do, which was the Catholic Church had done, for many years. And this Jew refused to do that because Be'etzim, even this Russia, who was ostensibly a heretic, had a level of emunah, which means to say there's always emunah. There's levels of emunah. There's levels of emunah in general, and there's levels of emunah in practice. And so the Jewish people, when they left Egypt, had a certain level. There would only be at Yam Suf where they did it. What happened at Yam Suf? This is important to us. You know why it's important to us, and it's important now? Because what we're going through right now, and what we may go through for longer, Halavai, it should be our kivoy and our hope and our tikva should be quick. But whatever it may be, when you have stark emunah, will be truly successful. Cerebral emunah doesn't allow you to transform your life, because the second things change, a person goes back, or you will just make these physical adjustments and not really the spiritual adjustments, which is screaming out to the world, but more importantly, it's screaming out to you and I right now. Like, really ask yourselves right now: is there a mitzvah? Is something that you've permanently transformed? I don't think people will be shaking hands. I don't know the next time people are going to shake hands are, because they will have transformed themselves physically, social precautions. But how many people have literally transformed themselves spiritually? What happened at Yam Suf was not only they saw that the Jewish people were saved, they saw their captors, the Egyptians. They had been slaves for 210 years in Egypt, and they saw the people who had afflicted them dead. As Hagilo Madrega the Halyona, but it was at Yam Suf at that moment, and there's the miracles, as we say in the Haggadah, were greater than in Egypt. There are many miracles. They came to this level of Klatz Moise Tamarna Hashem Mi Kamok. Nemar B'Torah Hakadosh. That's what it says. The Yaminu B'Hashem of Moshe Avdo Hakavana. It means to say that we see in Azar Shir every day that they were Yaminu B'Hashem of Moshe Avdo. The Kavanah is they came to Emunah Ba'avarim. And the reason is, as mentioned, after seeing the Egyptians chase after them, and they were still scared, right? They get to Yam Suf, they scream out, they're paralyzed there at that moment, and they're terrified. But after Kriyas Yam Suf, when all of what we call the previous Yetzer Hara would be there, which is Emunas Evarim, the Madrega Zu Hagiu Ay, they got it because they took an action, which is very important, by the way. It wasn't just what they saw, it's what they did. We say in America, talk is cheap. If you tell somebody you love them and your actions don't demonstrate that, it could be that you love them. As I know many parents who need therapy, how to treat their kids or spouses, and they really do love their spouse or their children. They just don't act on it. The actions speak louder than words. And the Jewish people, they took their emunah and they jumped into the sea. Jumping into the sea meant you're going to lose your possessions in theory. Jumping into the sea meant you're going to get wet. You may drown in the sea. Jumping into the sea meant that you were putting your faith in God. And it was that action which actually allowed them to get to the next level of emunah. It wasn't just here, and it wasn't even just here. It was an action which allowed them to get to the next level and to break the ideological hold which Mitzrayim held over them. What are you just screaming? Do, right? And that's really my point for you and me. Like, what at this point, when we're literally about a month into Corona, like I'm asking myself this question: like, have I permanently changed myself? I'm asking you this question tonight. Like, have you made a permanent change? A permanent change, not just in Emunah Bitachon, but indeed in action. I say we're saying Tehillim every day, and so we should all be saying Tehillim, praying, and our prayers should improve. Many people actually have told me that prayers have improved. I haven't heard from anybody. I'm not saying that people haven't done it. Levine, I've decided I'm doing this for the rest of my life. I haven't heard that yet. Now, doesn't mean anything that I didn't hear it. But I'm just telling you, I did hear a lot of people say their prayer has improved, they're praying more. That's shrechem v'tovlechem. That's amazing and wonderful. And if you person push themselves to have their seder and to be stark and to be happy, amazing. But there's something more that has to be done, and the only way is in emunah evar, like that, where we understand that Hashem is literally speaking to us, and we have to act like the only solution. You and I believed that if I would improve or you would improve your Yiddishkeit, your relationship, your neshama, you would be saving the world. You would do it. If you would be able to make the vaccine, like we do it. But what? Like at some level, we think, I'll pray, I'll do this. Like, but a person, emunah is to know that Hashem is not speaking. That literally everything I'm going to do makes a difference, and that's all that matters. That's the reach at Yam Suf. I only have a few minutes. He elaborates. I'm going to do another piece tomorrow night as well. He elaborates at length about what Mitzrayim really was Meitzar, was the world is what it is, and that really confines emunah. Like today, a lot of what you call religious Jews are locked because we live in a physical world. And as I said, some of the best Jews came to me after Shels were attacked in other places in the country, and their first concern was physical security. And there are Jews who are yarmulkes, and when they see Hezbollah and they see Hamas, all they can think is the IDF. And we do need physical security, unfortunately, and we do need an IDF, unfortunately. But that is not why Hamas and Hezbollah is there. Hamas and Hezbollah is there because we need to be woken up spiritually. The day when the Jewish people have no spiritual things we have to work with, we know Hamas and Hezbollah. The fact that all of a sudden, there are neo-Nazis or more and more Muslims in this country, many of them peaceful, but many of them are not. And many of them have, grow up in countries with largely anti-Semitic views, which are certainly very threatening. This dynamic coming into this country and changing intersectionality, that's not just intersectionality. It's not just BDS, it's Hashem, right? And what happens to when you hear religious Jews? Again, I've given drushes about activism and not just praying, and that we have to actually go out and do things. That's for sure true. But at the what's all is said and done is it's all Hashem. And whether somebody came to you recently about work, and they think it's their boss. Emunah ba'avar means that we have to look on our lives and see what does Hashem want from us. The day the Jewish people do that, we'll have no enemies, right? Everything comes as a megaphone to wake us up at some level. I'm really dumbing down a very deep topic, but it is what it is. We're limited in time here. But what's important, and I say this to you and I, is we need to fully understand that Mitzrayim, what that did to the Jewish people then, is our reality today. Every newspaper you read, every news report you read, including in some of the finest Jewish publications, are focusing on, and again, if I see a person smoke, I think they're a shaita, a fool. If I would see people, congregating, I think they're a shaita, a fool. Not same thing. But the reason Hashem made COVID is not for social distancing. There is a deeper message for the world. I'm not a prophet. I don't know that. And unfortunately, we have no prophets, so we have to really work on being better in general. But more profoundly, it's a message for us as individuals that we should be doing better. We need to be doing better, and all of us have areas to improve in, and all of us should have taken this month, Pashat a month, to make significant changes in our lives, permanent, significant changes in our lives. I'm going to just the last paragraph, and then we'll hold it. It's late. This revelation of Kriyas Yamsuf was on the 7th day of Pesach. Shenikru kol az kol masachim hamavdilin ben Yisrael avim shebeshamayim. It was at that moment that all of the barriers, all of the things which blocked us from totally understanding and seeing Hashem, there at Yamsuf we had the highest level of faith. Achira also, therefore, Shifcha ala Yam, the lowest maidservant, what saw a higher level of prophecy more than Yechezkel Hanavi, more than Ezekiel Hanavi, Zachary. And just like we say on the night of Pesach, every person's chayiv liros atzmo kilu hu yatzmitzvah. We need to know that spiritually in the world on the night of Pesach, there is that same spiritual energy that was the year 3,332 years ago is today. That's an energy of redemption, and we're able to redeem ourselves on the night of Pesach. And that Pesach, the night of Pesach, is the Rosh Hashanah, the Emunah. And from Pesach, we get the Emunah for the rest of the year. It's this idea of the Emunah of Pesach, that Hashem is involved in every aspect of the world, including our lives. And if He puts us into situations that we're in the exact perfect situation for right now, for what we need to be successful eternally. So too, B'leil Shvii Shel Pesach, it's coming Tuesday night. Shulel Kriyas Yamsuf Asher B'nei Yisrael Agia Bo L'Tachlis HaMadrega Shel Emunah V'Koach HaKedusha, that we came to the higher levels, the highest levels of Emunah. Niku Kol Masachim HaMavdilim Mimenu, and all of the barriers, all of the masks, all of the things which usually clog up our vision, and are taken off on the 7th night of Pesach. As the base of Ram says, Shalayla Hazeh is Mesugul of Kol Hanyanim, it's not a half-like a thing, Hakashim Kikriyas Yamsuf. That we say, typically we say even like certain things are as challenging as a splitting of the sea, like getting married to the right person, sometimes getting the right career is so challenging. It means there's so many details that needs to be worked out. It's like Kriyas Yamsuf. How does a person achieve this? Let's say you and I, if we have that thing that we really know we need to work on, really needs to improve, and we imagine it's mamish, even though it needs to improve, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't want to, or I'm not willing to do what it takes to do it. When a person has their emunah, they have clarity, that it's all up to Hashem. If I just make the effort, if I just invest myself, if I just throw myself into it, that I will be able to do it. That a person can have their own salvation, their own geula. We know that the Torah is eternal. And in every generation, you should know that on the night of the 7th night, going into the 7th day of Pesach, that same kedusha, that same holiness, that same auspicious moment is there for the taking. If a person has a emunah on the 7th day of Pesach, that person can do it like a kriyas yamsuf mission. Otherwise, what would usually be for the person mission impossible. When we say mission impossible, mission impossible means something we know we should do, and we just feel locked. Doesn't mean to fly. We don't have wings. We're not going to be able to fly, right? If I come on 7th night of Pesach, I played basketball in my youth, but no matter what I do, I'm not going to dunk a basketball. First of all, I haven't played basketball for many years, so for sure I'm not going to dunk. I'll probably sprain my ankle trying. But even if I wanted to, it doesn't mean to do what you can't do. It means that you to do what you need, what you should be doing, what we know we're supposed to be doing, but we're not doing it because we just don't believe in ourselves that we can do it. Right? We're not doing it not because it's physically impossible, but because we don't have the emunah to do it. But we have the emunah on the night of Pesach, right? We can really do kriyas hamsuf. We can do what seems otherwise impossible. This revelation on the seventh night of Pesach is forever. So we'll pick up tomorrow night, but really, I'm gonna end how I started. It's that we're in pain. It's a megaphone to rouse a deaf world. We're not deaf. You're all sitting on a Sunday night listening to me speak for however long. Not because of me, because you're looking, you're stuck with me, but you're looking and I'm looking to see what Hashem is doing. We're not deaf. We have emunas hamayach, but we need to have emunas sevarim. And really, the emunah we need to have now is an emunah that if we're in the situations that we're in, and if we know as we think about it now, things we need to work on, to take the jump into our own yamsuf, to have the emunah that if we're in this situation, I was speaking going to Pesach, psych ourselves up, get to where we need to be, have the seder we're supposed to have. That's all in the head. Really, it's here. But now it's time to jump into the sea and say, what could I do to transform my life? Because if I believe the Lev Shalom, and Hashem gave me this situation I'm in today, then I must make the necessary changes, because Hashem put me in this situation. It's not merely to continue it. It's to be able to transform ourselves around. If we end up transforming ourselves, not only will we better our lives, but our emunah, the bitachon we have is a different bitachon, where it becomes an emunah sevarim, where we're really telling ourselves, we're really creating in ourselves is an emunah that's real. So we're going to hold here for tonight. I wish everybody a good night. And we have one more night tomorrow night, and we'll get ourselves ready for the seventh night of Pesach. So I wish everyone a good night. And